Welcome, modern day mystics, fellow truth seekers, James and Justin, back again, and we're gonna do actually two Muslim reactions this week because I feel like these two videos kind of spin off of each other. The first video is called What is a Hadith? And we haven't learned much about that at all. Most of our content has been like reactions just around the Qur'an and like the basics of the faith. So this is going to be like one more step into understanding, learning something a little bit more complex. And then the next reaction is going to be to Mutif Mank, which will be our next episode, which talks about like why it's important to have the Hadith, I think, and not just the Qur'an. Anyway, I won't keep you guys waiting. Also, sorry, before we get started, this is done by Islamic Lessons. So yeah, we won't keep you guys waiting. Let's get into it.
Islam has two primary sources. First is the Qur'an, and the second source is the Prophet Muhammad's teachings, peace be upon him. These teachings include his words, actions, and silent approval. In Islamic terminology, these teachings are called hadith. The word hadith literally means news, report, or narration. Sometimes the words and actions of the Prophet are referred to as his sunnah. Hadith are needed in order to understand the Qur'an. For example, the Holy Qur'an will tell us to pray, but the Hadith will tell us how to pray. The Qur'an will tell us to pay zakah, but the Hadith will give us its details, and so on. Every Hadith has two parts in it. The first part is called the sanad, and the second, the matn. Here is an example. In this Hadith, the first paragraph is the sanad, the chain of the Hadith, where the reporter Hamad reported from Muhammad, who reported from Amr, who reported from his father, who reported from his father, who reported from the Prophet, peace be upon him. The second paragraph is the matn, the text of the Hadith. Together, they form one Hadith. According to the Shia, if something is reported from a companion of a Prophet or a companion of a Ma'soom, meaning an Imam and Sayyidah Fatima, but does not go all the way back to them and stops at the companion, then the Shia do not regard it to bear weight as Sunnah. For example, a saying by Abu Dhar or Abdullah bin Abbas may be related as to what the companion said, but it does not bear any weight as Sunnah. However, among the Sunnis, the words of a Sahaba, a companion, are also treated as Hadith, so they derive laws and act upon what is related from Abu Hurairah, or Ibn Mas'ud, or Aisha, the wife of the Prophet, peace be upon him, even if that report does not quote the Prophet himself. The sanad is extremely important to scholars. They study the lives of each of the individuals in every hadith to see if they were trustworthy or not, and if we can rely on what they reported. This science of studying the reporters and narrators of hadith is called ilm al-rijal, the science of men, and goes hand in hand with the study of hadith. One of the reasons why the scholars don't trust anyone who reports a hadith is because it is a well-known fact that during the era of Banu Umayyah and Banu Abbas, thousands of ahadith were forged to suit the convenience of the rulers, either to flatter themselves and their predecessors or to slander the Ahlul Bayt and so on. Allah has told us in the Qur'an not to trust a sinful person. O you who have believed, if an evildoer, fasiq, brings some news, verify it, lest you should harm some people out of ignorance, and then become regretful of what you have done. The common view is that the narrator must be Muslim, have reached the age of Islamic maturity, sane, have good memory, and be adil. Adil means someone with integrity, who is not known as being sinful or a liar. According to the Shia, he must be Shia Ithna Ashari, and in some cases a narrator who is not Shia Ithna Ashari is also accepted if his report supports and does not contradict other authentic ahadith. This is because there were so many narrations fabricated against the Ahlul Bayt at the time, but we will talk about its history in another lesson. A hadith is divided into a few main categories. Number 1, Sahih. This is a hadith that has been rendered authentic. The chain of narrators is not broken. They are all trustworthy, good memory, not open sinners, and must be just. The Shia also add that they also must be imami, meaning a Shia Ithna Ashari. Number 2, Hasan, which means good. This is a hadith that has not reached the level of Sahih. This means there may be a person in the chain of narrators that their reliability has not been affirmed yet. 3, Da'if, weak. This is a hadith that is neither Sahih nor Hasan. This could be because one of the narrators has been defamed, or because they were unknown or a fabricator, and so on. There are many other grades of da'if according to the scholars. 4. According to the Shia, there is a fourth main category, muwaththaq, dependable. This is a hadith where some narrators are not Shia Ithna Ashari, but they have been praised as being trustworthy. Of course, these main categories have additional characteristics and other subcategories that you may find in hadith studies. A hadith is also classified into mutawatir and ahad. A mutawatir hadith is one that is narrated by so many people that it will be impossible for them all to have agreed to fabricate it. Mutawatir is divided into 2 types, mutawatir in words and mutawatir in meaning. For example, this hadith is mutawatir in words. This has been narrated by over 70 people in the same wording. Mutawatir in meaning is when there are so many narrations that agree on the same meaning but differ in words. For example, we have so many traditions about the coming of the Mahdi but in different words. Any hadith that is not mutawatir is called hadith ahad, also known as khabarul wahid. These narrations do not bring about certainty of authenticity on their own unless it is supported by other evidence. These hadiths are also divided into other categories that are listed in hadith studies.
All right, well, before we say anything, I think we should just throw a shout out to Islamic Lessons Made Easy. You know, good video for explaining the hadith, and it looks like it's complex. I'm sure I did not retain everything that came from that video, but there were a couple of things that stood out. Is there anything that kind of stood out for you?
No.
Right off the bat?
No.
Well, I appreciated at least the fact that they showed that, I think, was it the kings or the rulers had the ability to kind of like manipulate their own stuff, and they were trying to like stay away from that, right? So obviously that's when it gets into this thing. Like, if I was Muslim, I would want to be the guy that, like, you know, went through all the texts, and I would probably be very anal about it. If I was Muslim, I'd be like all over the trying to figure out like what's the best hadith and which one can I trust and which one can I trust. But it opens you up for some kind of vulnerable sensitivities there. The expansion of kind of the Qur'an, and I think in Christianity they call it like a concordance. Like, they have the Bible, and then there's like a concordance that's written about, like, you know, books on, like, you know, one chapter of the Bible or something like that. You know, it gets pretty heavy duty, and I think that's kind of what the hadith is pointing at, is kind of like taking like certain verses from the Quran and expanding upon it to make it simpler to understand, I guess, or to at least point you in some type of direction. It gave the example of the prayer at the beginning, right? Like, if you're going to pray, like the Quran says to pray, and then the hadith says this is how you should pray. So it's kind of like an expansion, I guess.
Right. For some reason, I had a very hard time following along.
Yeah.
I was like lost in thought, and I was like, wait, what's happening now? I did note that thing that you said where at one point they were kind of seemed to be manipulating the what is it? Some of the
hadith. Well, I think they were like trying to make hadiths suit their whatever they were trying agenda they had going on, you know. And it's like, how do you know? Like, that's sort of the question. Like, if I was talking with a Muslim, like, how are you so certain about like certain things? That's why I would want to be the scholar guy, because it would drive me crazy, because so much would depend upon you putting your faith and trust in someone else and their interpretation of it.
Right. Like, did you see that one part where it was like, anybody that knowingly lies should take their seat in hellfire?
Yeah. Like,
what if you're like, lying's part of my job? Or something like, I don't want to go to hell. Let's just change that or something. Like, you know, like, to know all the things. How do you know? That's a good question. How do you know? Yeah, as I was watching it, I was like, what? That's possible? That like things like that have to be addressed? And you know, you hear about that stuff in all sorts of religions. You know, like people arguing over the canonical nature of any text.
Yeah.
People arguing and arguing and arguing. And then I honestly have come to the conclusion that a lot of people function in it by means of compartmentalization. If you actually sat down, you were like, today from morning till night, I'm going to like take apart every way I'm deluding myself.
Yeah.
It would be exhausting. You might not be able to tolerate it. You're like, I can't. I have to go back to just lying to myself. Because if you actually thought about how possible it really was objectively for things to be accurate.
Well, yeah, think about how much of your life it wouldn't be just this book. It's like every spiritual text out there that I've come encounter with has some subsect under it to like expound upon what the original thing said. It's not just Islam, it's every religion, and it's not just religion, it's also politics, it's law, it's everything, it's science. There's like a sub, and it keeps going and going and going. And eventually you have to admit to yourself on some level with everything that like, I have some things I just like, I just have to leave it because I would go forever.
And I think a lot of people, I think people do that at different stages. It's like an elevator some people get off. Like some people are like, I had to get off at the thing of some things are common sense, okay? Yeah. I had to get off at that elevator door where it's like, good's good. You know what's good and what's bad. And it's like, you could go deeper. And then there's somebody that's gone deeper and they're like, I had to get off before I hit like pure nihilism. Yeah. I had to get off before I was like, do what thou wilt. Like, you can do whatever the hell you want. It doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? There's all these different stages you could get off of, like, accepting things as they are.
Yeah. Oh, and don't even add the element of environment and think how much that affects.
Oh,
affects everything. Like, your state of mind, your chemistry, your ability to retain information, your IQ. There's, like, so much. It's so crazy how much there is involved.
That is exactly true. That's right.
Yeah, but anyway, as we go through these hadiths, and I'm sure we'll look at them a little bit more deeper and learn more about it. Hopefully you guys liked our reaction on this. If you did, don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, share this with a friend, and everyone until next time, stay spiritual.